Cole Brennan stood in the doorway of Evergreen Steakhouse, December wind biting through his work jacket, and wondered if his younger brother had finally lost his mind. The scrap of paper in his calloused palm read, Autumn, Accountant, Green Sweater, Corner Table. 4 years since Rachel's funeral, and Garrett still believed a blind date could fix what grief had shattered. The restaurant glowed warm against Denver's early winter darkness, all exposed brick and Edison bulbs, the kind of place where people celebrated anniversaries instead of awkward first meetings between strangers who'd met through mutual desperation. Cole pushed through the heavy door, scanning faces for a woman alone, someone who might glance up with the same nervous hope he was supposed to feel but didn't. Corner table, green sweater. There, she sat with her back straight, posture belonging to someone who'd learned to occupy space without apology. Hands wrapped around a water glass she studied like it held answers. The sweater was emerald cashmere, expensive enough that Cole registered the quality even from across the room. Her dark hair fell past her shoulders in waves that suggested professional styling, and when she looked up, her eyes carried the particular wariness of someone who'd agreed to this against better judgment. Cole's boots crossed hardwood that had seen decades of first dates and last meals, his work-worn Carhartt jacket suddenly feeling too rough, too real for this carefully curated atmosphere. He stopped at her table, managed what he hoped passed for a smile. Autumn, I'm Cole. Sorry I'm late. Had a foundation issue at the Morrison site that couldn't wait. The woman's eyes widened, just a fraction, surprise followed by something Cole couldn't read. Her mouth opened, closed, and for a heartbeat he thought she'd correct him, tell him he had the wrong table, wrong woman, wrong everything. Instead, her shoulders dropped half an inch, tension releasing like she'd made a decision she couldn't take back. It's fine, I just got here myself. Cole slid into the seat across from her, grateful she hadn't led with questions about his tardiness or comments about construction work. Rachel used to say he smelled like sawdust and determination, affection in the observation rather than complaint. This woman, Autumn, he reminded himself, watched him with an intensity that felt less like romantic interest and more like someone solving an equation they hadn't expected to encounter. Garrett, my brother, he wouldn't take no for an answer about tonight. Said 4 years was long enough to hide behind my daughter and work. Why was he talking about Garrett? Cole caught himself, recognizing the nervous energy that made him over-explain, fill silence with details that didn't matter. But the woman leaned forward slightly, genuine interest replacing whatever calculation had been happening behind her eyes. Your daughter? Lily, she's 8. Whip smart, gets that from her mother. But sometimes I see her drawing alone in her room, these elaborate buildings with impossible architecture, and I wonder if she's lonely, if having just me and construction schedules is enough. The words came easier than expected. Honesty he hadn't offered anyone outside family in years. This stranger, with her expensive sweater and careful posture, created space for vulnerability without demanding it. Her silence, invitation rather than judgment. I understand. I have Claire. She's 17 now. My late husband's daughter from his first marriage. I adopted her after he passed, but sometimes I think she keeps me at arm's length because she's afraid of losing another parent. Something in her voice when she said late husband resonated with the hollow space Rachel's death had carved in Cole's chest. Not grief exactly, that had dulled over time into manageable sorrow, but recognition. This woman knew what it meant to rebuild a life from wreckage. When did he pass? 4 years ago, December. Cole's hand stilled halfway to his water glass. Rachel, my wife, she died 4 years ago. Also December. Car accident on Interstate 70, coming home from a teacher's Christmas party. Black ice near the mountain pass. The woman's breath caught audibly, her carefully maintained composure cracking to reveal genuine shock underneath. My husband David died of a heart attack, December 24th, 2020. He was working late at the office, said he had chest pain. I was in a meeting with investors, told him to go home and rest, that we'd see a doctor in the morning. They sat in shared recognition of the particular guilt that came with last conversations, final choices that couldn't be unmade. Cole had replayed that night 10,000 times. Rachel calling from the party, asking if he'd pick her up because the snow was getting heavy. Him saying he needed 2 more hours to finish the foundation pour. Couldn't leave the concrete half done. 2 hours that became forever. People say time heals. Cole heard himself speak words he'd never said aloud. But that's not true. Time just teaches you how to build walls around the pain so it doesn't collapse you every single day. The woman across from him nodded, understanding in the gesture that went beyond polite agreement. She'd built the same walls, knew the same architecture of survival. Their server arrived with menus and water refills, breaking the moment with practiced efficiency. Cole glanced at options without really seeing them, his mind still circling the coincidence of 2 December deaths. 2 single parents trying to navigate grief while raising children who deserve better than broken adults fumbling through holidays and homework. When the server departed, the woman spoke first. I work in real estate, project management, investor relations. The hours are demanding, the pressure constant. Sometimes I wonder if I'm using work as an excuse not to feel, not to risk anything that might hurt the way losing David hurt. Cole recognized the truth beneath her words even as he registered what she'd left unsaid. Real estate project management in Denver meant dealing with developers, serious money, the kind of world where his small construction company barely registered as a footnote. He waited for the familiar calculus to appear in her expression. The mental math people did when they learned he built things with his hands instead of moving money through spreadsheets. It didn't come. I'm just a contractor, small operation. Me, my brother Garrett, about 25 guys doing residential work and light commercial. We're not building skyscrapers, just homes where families will fight and make up and grow old. Sometimes I think that matters more than the big projects. But then I see my bank account and remember why people chase the big money. He'd meant it as self-deprecation, acknowledging the gap between their worlds before she had to. Instead, the woman leaned forward, something fierce entering her eyes. You said just a contractor like it's something small, but you build, Cole. You create structures that shelter people, that stand after you're gone. I push papers and manage egos and convince rich men to invest in projects they'll never visit. What you do is real. The intensity in her voice caught him off guard. Genuine respect where he'd expected polite dismissal. He studied her more carefully, the way her hands had tensed around her water glass when talking about work, the slight tightness at the corners of her mouth that suggested stress carried so long it had become default. This woman wore success like armor, but underneath, something softer struggled for air. In construction, the foundation is everything. Cole found himself sharing wisdom his father had drilled into him before lung cancer had claimed the old man 6 years back. You can have beautiful walls, perfect trim, expensive finishes, but if the foundation is wrong from the start, the whole structure fails. Eventually, everything built on lies collapses. Did her expression flicker? Cole couldn't be sure. The woman held his gaze, something unreadable moving behind her eyes. And he wondered what stories she hadn't told, what foundations she'd built her current life upon. Their food arrived. Cole had ordered without remembering what, some steak that probably cost more than he usually spent on dinner for a week. The woman had chosen salmon, and they ate in comfortable silence, the kind that felt less awkward than companionable. 2 people who'd found unexpected understanding in a chance meeting. Except it wasn't chance, Cole reminded himself. This was a blind date. Garrett had arranged this with Dan, some guy from his construction supply company whose friend knew someone who knew Autumn the accountant, who wore green sweaters and needed saving from loneliness as desperately as Cole apparently did. What made you say yes to tonight? The question emerged before Cole could stop it, genuine curiosity overriding social grace. The woman set down her fork, considering her answer with care that suggested the truth required precision. A friend, someone who works with me, she insisted I needed to stop treating my life like a business problem to be solved. Said I should try meeting someone who didn't know my reputation, my position, who might see me as just a person. Just a person. The phrase carried weight, Cole recognized. The burden of being defined by loss, by responsibility, by the roles others assigned, whether you wanted them or not. CEO or contractor, widow or widower. The labels obscured whatever lived underneath. Garrett said the same thing, that I was using Lily as an excuse to avoid living, that Rachel would be furious if she knew I'd turned her memory into a shield against feeling anything. Was he right? Cole thought about the question, really thought instead of deflecting with easy humor or defensive anger. Probably. Safer to work 70-hour weeks and tell myself I'm providing for Lily than risk caring about someone who might leave. Death or choice, doesn't matter. Loss is loss. The woman nodded slowly, recognition and resignation mixing in her expression. They'd both chosen safety over vulnerability, built careful lives that protected against the kind of pain they'd already survived. Meeting here tonight, sharing dinner and stories, felt like testing ice over a frozen lake. You had to step out to know if it would hold, but breaking through meant drowning in water cold enough to stop your heart. Cole's phone buzzed. He ignored it. Buzzed again. The woman gestured toward his pocket. You should check. Could be important. He pulled out the device, saw Garrett's name, swiped to read the message. Autumn's car broke down on I-25. She's running 45+ minutes late. Restaurant should have told you. Sorry, bro. Cole's stomach dropped, a physical sensation of everything sliding sideways. He looked up at the woman across from him, this stranger he'd been talking to for the better part of an hour, genuine connection forming between them, and understood with sudden clarity that none of this was real. She wasn't Autumn. Before he could speak, the restaurant's front door banged open, winter wind shoving in ahead of a snow-covered figure who stumbled toward the host stand with the desperate energy of someone who'd fought highway traffic and losing battles with broken vehicles. Red parka crusted with ice, face flushed from cold and stress, hair plastered to her skull with melted snow. "I'm so sorry," the words came out between gasps. "I'm Autumn Reed. I had a reservation for 7:30. My car died on the highway and my phone lost signal, and I had to get a ride with a truck driver to the nearest exit and walk." She broke off, scanning the restaurant until her eyes landed on Cole's table. On the woman in the green sweater who wasn't Autumn, who'd known from the first moment that Cole had approached the wrong person and chosen silence over correction. Cole stood slowly, aware of the woman across from him doing the same, both of them caught in the particular horror of discovery. The real Autumn reached their table, still breathless, looking between them with confusion that would become understanding too quickly. "You're Cole Brennan?" "Yes, and you're Autumn Reed. I'm so sorry I'm late. The car and the weather and—" She paused, finally registering the situation fully. "But you're already eating. With someone else." Cole turned to the woman he'd been talking to, this stranger who'd let him believe a lie for an hour, who'd shared grief and hope and vulnerability while knowing every moment was built on mistaken identity. Anger should have come first, betrayal, the hot rush of humiliation. Instead, he felt only deep, aching disappointment. "Who are you?" The woman's composure cracked fully now, expensive armor failing under direct assault. "Vivian. My name is Vivian. She swallowed hard. "I knew you'd made a mistake. When you sat down and said, Autumn, I knew. And you didn't correct me." Cole kept his voice level, refusing to let hurt sharpen into accusation. "You let me talk about Rachel, about Lily, about things I haven't told anyone, while knowing this was all, what, some kind of game?" "No!" Vivian's hand reached out, stopped short of actually touching him. "Not a game, never that. I just— 4 years, Cole. 4 years of people only seeing my job, my money, my position. You sat down and saw me, a person, not a title or a bank account or a problem to solve. And I needed to hold on to that feeling for just a little longer. The raw honesty in her voice cut through Cole's anger, replaced it with something more complicated. He understood wanting to be seen as human rather than role, knew the exhaustion that came from performing competence when you felt shattered underneath. But understanding didn't erase the fundamental dishonesty. You should have told me. I know. Right away, first thing. I know. They stood facing each other while Autumn Reed hovered nearby, clearly regretting her dramatic entrance, probably wishing she'd stayed home instead of walking through a blizzard for a date that had already imploded. The restaurant's other patrons had stopped pretending not to watch, the drama too compelling to ignore. Cole picked up his jacket from the back of his chair, pulled it on with deliberate slowness while his mind raced through options. Walk away, leave both women here, drive home to Lily and pretend this night never happened. That was the safe choice, the choice that protected against further humiliation or complication. Except Vivian was still standing there, vulnerability written across her face in ways that suggested she rarely let anyone see weakness. And the things they'd shared, the grief, the guilt, the loneliness, those had been real even if the setup was false. Autumn, he turned to the actual woman he was supposed to meet, felt guilt for what he was about to do. I'm sorry, this whole situation is, I don't even know what to call it. You've had a terrible night, and you deserve better than walking into this mess. Can I call you a car? Help you get a hotel room? Whatever you need. Autumn looked at Vivian, then back at Cole, and something like amusement broke through her exhaustion. This is the weirdest blind date story I'm ever going to have. But honestly, I'm freezing and tired and I just want to sleep. A car to the Marriott would be amazing. The restaurant manager appeared with impeccable timing, offering assistance and hot soup, leading Autumn away to arrange transportation and recovery, which left Cole alone with Vivian, the woman who wasn't his date but somehow felt more real than anyone he'd talked to since Rachel's death. I should go too. Vivian reached for her purse, expensive leather that probably cost more than Cole's monthly truck payment. Or you could stay. The words surprised him even as he spoke them. Finish dinner, start over, this time knowing who we actually are instead of who we thought we were. Vivian's hand stilled on her purse strap. Why would you want that? I lied to you. You let me believe something false. That's not the same as lying, though I'm not sure it's better. Cole sat back down, a decision made more from instinct than logic. But everything you told me about David, about Claire, about being lonely, that was true, wasn't it? Yes. Then maybe we try this again, honestly this time. Vivian sat slowly, like she was testing whether the chair would hold her weight, whether this second chance was real or another mistake waiting to break. They picked up menus they'd already read, ordered dessert neither of them probably wanted, and in the awkward silence, Cole felt the foundations of something shift. My full name is Vivian Lancaster. I work in real estate development, like I said, project management and investor relations. She'd repeated what she'd already told him, which meant there was more she hadn't said. Cole waited, instinct suggesting that pushing would only drive her further behind whatever walls she'd built. I live in Cherry Hills. Bought the house with my husband before he passed. Cherry Hills, where Denver's serious money lived in mansions behind gates. Cole's house in Aurora fit in Vivian's garage, probably. You live well for project management. Vivian's expression shifted, something guarded sliding into place. I do okay, which was deflection, Cole recognized, words chosen to avoid revealing details she wasn't ready to share. He should push, demand the full truth after she'd let him believe a lie. Instead, he offered his own honesty, creating space for hers to emerge when ready. Cole Brennan, 37, owner of Brennan & Sons Construction, with my younger brother Garrett. We do mostly residential work, new builds, major renovations, the occasional commercial project if it's small enough. I live in a three-bedroom house in Aurora that needs new windows. I keep putting off because Lily's college fund matters more than my comfort. I drive a 2015 F-150 with 180,000 miles that burns oil but runs fine. And I haven't been on a date since Rachel's funeral because I've been too scared to feel anything. The last admission came out rougher than intended, truth scraping his throat raw. Vivian's eyes widened slightly, surprise or recognition or both. Thank you for telling me that. Someone should be honest at this table. The barb landed softly but visibly, Vivian flinching at the reminder of her deception. Cole felt guilty immediately, opened his mouth to apologize, but she spoke first. You're right. I should have told you immediately. I was scared and selfish, and I made a choice that hurt you. I'm sorry. The apology felt genuine, stripped of the professional polish she'd maintained earlier. This was Vivian without armor, and Cole found himself wanting to know this version better than the careful facade. Why were you here, if not for a blind date with me? I had my own blind date. Different autumn, different setup. My assistant Jessica arranged it without quite asking permission. Said I needed to stop treating my life like a merger to negotiate. When you sat down looking nervous and kind, I convinced myself one conversation wouldn't hurt anyone. And then it became more than one conversation. Yes. Their dessert arrived, chocolate cake for him, creme brulee for her, both of them pushing food around plates without eating. The restaurant had mostly emptied, staff making subtle, clearing throat noises that suggested they'd like to close eventually. Cole's phone showed 10:47. He'd been here nearly 4 hours, spent most of them talking to a woman who'd lied about her identity and somehow still wanted to know more. This is probably the stupidest question I've asked in a while, but would you want to do this again? Actually date, I mean? No blind setup, no mistaken identity, just you and me, honestly trying to see if this connection is real. Vivian set down her spoon with careful precision, buying time to formulate an answer. Yes, but there are things you should know first. About my work, my life, the complications that come with both. Tell me tomorrow, or next week, or whenever you're ready. Cole stood, pulling on his jacket. Tonight was messy enough. Let's try for cleaner next time. He walked Vivian to her car, a black Mercedes S-Class that confirmed his suspicions about her wealth. She caught his expression when he saw it, offered a half smile that looked almost apologetic. Project management pays well. Apparently. They stood in the parking lot, snow beginning to fall in lazy spirals, December cold biting through Cole's jacket. He should leave, get in his truck and drive home to Lily, but something kept him rooted. Tomorrow afternoon, if you and Claire are free. Lily and I make Christmas decorations in my workshop. Wood ornaments, painted and sanded. It's nothing fancy, but Lily would love having other people there. She could teach Claire, feel important. Vivian's surprise was obvious. You want me to bring Claire to your house? After tonight? I want to see if whatever we felt talking is still there when we're around our kids. Family matters more than anything. If this is going to work, they have to fit together too. What time? Cole gave her his address, watched her program it into her phone, and felt hope flicker like a pilot light refusing to die. She kissed his cheek before getting in her car, a gesture soft enough to carry promise, brief enough to protect against presumption. Driving home through snow that was becoming serious, Cole replayed the evening, cataloging moments of connection against the backdrop of deception. Vivian had lied by omission, but the grief she'd shared was real. The loneliness was real. The fear of risking her heart again, that was real too. His phone rang through the truck's Bluetooth. Garrett's name appeared on the dash screen. I know. Autumn wasn't there. I sat with someone else. Garrett's laugh came through tinny and delighted. Dan just called me, said Autumn showed up looking like she'd fought a blizzard and lost. Found you with a completely different woman. What the hell happened? Sat at the wrong table. Talked to the right person, maybe. I don't know, Garrett. It's complicated. Complicated how? She's not who I thought. Wealthy, I think. Successful. And she let me believe she was my blind date for an hour before the truth came out. Static filled the silence while Garrett processed. And you're seeing her again anyway? Tomorrow, with the kids. More silence. Then, Dad used to say you always knew the right foundation when you saw it, even if it looked wrong at first. Maybe trust that instinct. Cole ended the call as he pulled into his driveway, the small house dark except for Lily's bedroom window where lights still glowed. She was supposed to be asleep at 11 on a school night, but enforcing bedtime had become harder since Rachel wasn't there to back him up. He let himself in quietly, climbed the stairs to find Lily at her desk, colored pencils scattered across architectural drawings that showed buildings impossible to build, but beautiful to imagine. "Hey, little architect, why are you still awake?" Lily turned, face lighting up the way it always did when he came home. "Working on my dream house. It has a tower for reading, and a basement workshop like yours, and a big kitchen for baking." Cole crossed to look at her drawing, saw Rachel in the careful detail, the way Lily considered proportion and space with instincts beyond her years. His daughter would be remarkable someday if he didn't mess her up too badly. "How was your date with the lady from Uncle Garrett's friends thing?" Trust Lily to cut straight to questions Cole wasn't ready to answer. "Interesting, actually I sat with the wrong person by accident, but she was nice. We talked about you." "What did you say?" "That you're smart and funny and the best thing in my life." Lily smiled, then sobered with the seriousness only 8-year-olds could manage. "Did you like her? The wrong table lady?" Cole thought about Vivian's careful control, cracking to reveal loneliness underneath. The way she'd understood his grief without platitudes, her fierce defense of his work's value. "Yeah, I think I did." "Are you going to see her again?" "Tomorrow, actually. Her daughter Claire is 17. I thought you could show them how to make ornaments in the workshop." Lily's entire face transformed, excitement replacing the sadness that sometimes haunted her features. "Really? I can teach someone? Like a real workshop teacher?" "Just like that. So get some sleep, okay? Big day tomorrow." He kissed her forehead, turned out her light, and stood in the hallway after her door closed, wondering what he'd just set in motion. Inviting Vivian into his home, his life, Lily's carefully guarded heart, it felt simultaneously reckless and inevitable, like foundations poured before you'd fully checked the level. In his own room, Cole lay in darkness and thought about second chances. 4 years of grief and guilt and going through motions, telling himself Lily needed him stable rather than happy, that dead wives deserve fidelity from widowers who'd failed to save them. But Rachel wouldn't have wanted this half-life. She'd have wanted him to risk, to try, to teach Lily that loss didn't mean stopping. His phone buzzed. Text from a number he hadn't saved yet. "Thank you for giving me another chance. I promise to be honest going forward. Sleep well. V." Cole typed back, "Looking forward to tomorrow. Bring comfortable clothes. Workshop gets dusty." He fell asleep thinking about Vivian's smile when she defended his work, the way she'd said, "You build," like it was sacred instead of simple. However she was beneath the expensive car and Cherry Hill's address, part of her recognized value beyond bank accounts. That mattered more than he'd expected. Saturday morning arrived with the particular brightness of fresh snow under December sun. Denver transformed overnight into something cleaner than it deserved. Cole woke at 6:30, despite having set no alarm, his body trained by years of construction schedules to reject sleep past dawn. He lay there thinking about Vivian, the evening's strange geometry, wrong table leading to right connection, lies of omission creating space for uncomfortable truths. Lily appeared in his doorway at 7:15, already dressed in paint-stained jeans and a sweatshirt declaring her love for unicorns. Hair pulled back in a ponytail she'd managed herself, with results that would need fixing before company arrived. Is she really coming? The wrong table lady and her daughter? Cole sat up, rubbed sleep from his eyes. Her name is Vivian, And yes, they're coming at 2 o'clock. What if Claire doesn't like me? She's 17. That's almost grown up. The fear in Lily's voice cut straight through Cole's chest. His daughter had learned early that people left. Mothers died, friends moved away, adults made promises they couldn't keep. Every new person represented potential abandonment. Then we'll have a nice afternoon making ornaments, and that's it. But I think she'll like you fine. You're pretty likable, kid. Lily climbed onto his bed, settled against his side with the easy affection she'd maintained despite growing older. Do you like Vivian? Like her? Cole considered his answer carefully, aware that honesty mattered, but so did protection. I like talking to her. She understands things without me having to explain. But we just met, so we're taking it slow. Slow is good. That's what Mrs. Patterson says about reading. You have to go slow to understand the important parts. Her third-grade teacher had apparently covered more than literacy. Cole squeezed Lily's shoulder, grateful for her resilience, even as he worried about the walls she'd built. The way she treated happiness like something temporary, fragile, likely to break. They spent the morning preparing. Cole cleaned the workshop, organized wood scraps and paint supplies, made sure the power tools were safely locked away from curious hands. Lily helped by creating a welcome sign on poster board, her careful letters spelling out Brennan Family Workshop, with stars and snowflakes decorating the margins. Should we put Claire's name on it too? She paused mid-decoration, marker hovering. Maybe wait until she gets here, see if she wants to be included. Lunch was grilled cheese sandwiches eaten standing at the kitchen counter, both of them too nervous to sit properly. Cole checked his phone 17 times between noon and 1:30, part of him expecting a cancellation text, Vivian having reconsidered in daylight what felt possible under restaurant dimness. The text that came at 1:45 contained only an address. Running a few minutes late. Claire wanted to stop for coffee. See you soon. At 2:07, an Uber pulled up outside instead of the Mercedes from last night. Cole watched through the front window as Vivian climbed out wearing jeans and a cream-colored sweater, hair pulled back in a simple ponytail that made her look younger, more approachable. Claire followed, tall and slender in black jeans and an oversized hoodie, skepticism written across her face in ways that suggested she'd been dragged here against better judgment. Lily pressed against Cole's leg, suddenly shy now that the moment had arrived. He put a hand on her shoulder, steadying both of them. Ready? She nodded without speaking, and Cole opened the door before Vivian could knock. Vivian's smile when she saw him felt genuine, no trace of the careful polish from last night. Hi, sorry we're late. Claire insisted we needed adequate caffeine for whatever this is. Claire offered a small wave, discomfort obvious in her posture. My mom doesn't usually do spontaneous workshops with strangers. This is weird for both of us. The blunt honesty surprised Cole into laughing. Fair enough. But Lily's been excited all morning to show someone her ornament techniques, so I appreciate you coming anyway. Lily chose that moment to launch herself forward, grabbing Claire's hand with the fearless enthusiasm that made Cole's heart hurt. I'm Lily. I'm 8, and I'm going to be an architect when I grow up. And I already set up all the paint colors, and you can pick whichever one you want, except maybe not the sparkle gold, because that's my favorite. But if you really want it, I'll share. The words tumbled out in a breathless rush that left Claire looking stunned, then amused, then something softer. She knelt down to Lily's level, respect in the gesture that suggested she understood the importance of taking children seriously. I'm Claire. I'm 17 and I have no idea how to make ornaments, but I'm a pretty good student if you're a good teacher. I'm an excellent teacher. Lily tugged Claire toward the detached garage that served as Cole's workshop, leaving the adults standing in the doorway watching them go. Vivian exhaled slowly. Well, that went better than expected. Your daughter seems nice, guarded, but kind underneath. She's had to be guarded. Losing her mother at 5, then David when she was 13, she's learned to protect herself. Vivian's expression clouded. Sometimes I think she keeps me at a distance because I'm safer to lose than someone she lets fully in. Cole recognized the pattern, had seen it in Lily's careful distribution of affection, her tendency to test whether people would stay before investing fully. Come on, I'll show you the workshop before Lily puts Claire to work with power tools. The garage smelled like sawdust and engine oil, familiar scents that meant home more than the house itself. Cole had spent countless hours here teaching Lily to sand, to measure, to understand that creation required patience and precision in equal measure. His workbench dominated one wall, tools hanging in careful organization above it. The opposite side held his table saw, drill press, compound miter, equipment that represented years of saving and investing in craft. Lily had indeed set up a paint station on folding tables, newspaper protecting surfaces, cups of water for rinsing brushes, pre-cut wood shapes ready for decoration. She was already showing Claire how to sand the edges smooth, demonstrating with exaggerated care that made instruction feel like performance. You put the sandpaper flat, see? And you go with the grain, not against it, because wood has a direction it likes to move. Claire accepted the sandpaper, mimicked Lily's movements with surprising patience. Like this? Perfect. You're really good at this. Did you do woodworking before? Never touched it. You're just a good teacher. Lily beamed, and Cole felt something tight in his chest release slightly. His daughter needed to feel competent, capable, needed adults who would learn from her instead of only teaching. Claire seemed to understand this instinctively. Vivian moved to Cole's side, close enough that he caught her scent, something subtle and expensive that still managed to feel appropriate for a dusty garage. This is your space. Built most of it myself. The workbench was my dad's before he died. Rest I added over the years as the business grew. Cole ran his hand across scarred wood. Rachel used to say I love this garage more than the house because out here, problems had solutions. Measured twice, cut once. Everything fixable if you had the right tools. She was wrong though. Some problems don't have solutions. No, but you can build around them. Create structure that holds even when everything else collapses. Vivian looked at him with intensity that felt almost physical, like she was trying to see through surface to something underneath. You really believe that? That structure and discipline can compensate for chaos? Have to. Otherwise, what's the point of any of it? She turned back to watch the girls, but Cole saw her swallow hard, emotions working through her that she fought to contain. Last night's carefully maintained CEO facade had given way to something raw, and he wondered what she was hiding beyond the Mercedes in Cherry Hill's address. Lily decided the girls should make snowflakes, ambitious for beginners, but she'd always believed in throwing people into deep water and seeing if they swam. Claire accepted the challenge with good humor, sketching patterns on her wood circle with concentration that suggested she approached everything with similar focus. Cole showed Vivian how to use the scroll saw for her own ornament, standing behind her to guide her hands through the cut, aware of her tension as the blade bit through pine. Gentle pressure. Let the saw do the work. When you force it, that's when mistakes happen. I'm very good at forcing things, Vivian's voice carried self-recrimination. At work, in relationships, with Claire, I push until something breaks, then act surprised when it falls apart. So learn to trust the process instead. Wood knows how it wants to be cut. Your job is to guide, not control. She completed the cut successfully, holding up the piece with satisfaction that seemed disproportionate to the simple accomplishment. I did it. That's ridiculous, right? Getting excited about cutting wood? Not ridiculous, satisfying. There's value in making something with your hands, seeing immediate results of effort. Most of life isn't like that. You work and never know if it matters. But this? Cole gestured at her ornament. This is real, tangible, proof you existed and created. Vivian studied the wood like it contained answers to questions she hadn't voiced. My work is all theoretical. Numbers on spreadsheets, projections, and forecasts. I manage projects I never visit, make decisions affecting people I'll never meet. Sometimes I wonder if any of it is real, or if I'm just moving abstractions around to create the illusion of productivity. What kind of projects? Her hesitation returned, visible in the way her shoulders tensed. Development, residential and commercial, large-scale mostly, which was deflection again, Cole recognized. She'd said similar things last night without specifying her actual role. He wanted to push, demand the transparency she'd promised, but Lily's voice interrupted. Dad, can we show them the ornaments from when Mom was alive? Cole's throat tightened. He kept Rachel's ornaments in a special box, pieces they'd made together during happier Decembers when cancer hadn't stolen his father, and ice hadn't claimed his wife, and the future still held possibility. Sure, baby. They're on the shelf behind you. Lily retrieved the box with reverent care, opened it to reveal ornaments spanning 15 years, clumsy early attempts when they were newly married and broke, more sophisticated pieces from years when Cole's skills had improved. A few Rachel had made herself with varying degrees of success. Each one carried memory, the Christmas they'd gotten engaged, the year Lily was born, Rachel's last December when she'd known something was wrong but hadn't said, hadn't wanted to ruin the holidays with fear. Claire handled them gently, understanding their significance without needing explanation. These are beautiful. Your mom had good taste. She said ornaments were important because you take them out every year and remember, like time capsules for feelings. Lily picked up a lopsided star. This one's from when I was 4. I painted it all by myself and Mom said it was perfect, even though the points are different sizes. Vivian's hand found Cole's, squeezed once. The gesture felt natural, comfort offered and accepted between people who understood that grief lived in ordinary objects, that beauty and pain occupied the same space. They spent 2 hours making ornaments, the garage filling with the particular energy of creation. Lily's running commentary on technique, Claire's careful questions, Vivian's soft laughter when her attempts at perfection failed. Cole moved between them all, adjusting angles and offering encouragement, watching his daughter bloom under adult attention that felt genuine. At 4:30, Vivian's phone buzzed insistently. She glanced at it, frowned, typed something quick. Work? Unfortunately, client situation that apparently can't wait until Monday. She looked up apologetically. I'm sorry, this is exactly the kind of thing I was talking about. Work bleeding into everything. It's Saturday afternoon. Can it wait? It should, but the client is important, and if I don't respond, there will be consequences Monday that take twice as long to fix. Cole recognized the calculation, the way professional obligations crushed personal desires. Rachel had dealt with similar pressures teaching, parent emails during dinner, grading papers on weekends, school needs trumping family time. Still, disappointment settled in his stomach. I understand. I don't think you do. Vivian's voice dropped low enough that the girls wouldn't hear. I don't want to leave. This has been the most relaxed I've felt in months. But I'm not good at choosing personal over professional. It's a flaw I'm working on. Then work on it by staying another hour. The client can wait. Her expressions shifted through emotions too quickly to track. Surprise, fear, hope, something that looked like longing. What if I can't? What if work always wins because that's who I am? Then we'll figure it out. But you have to give this a chance, Vivian. Give us a chance. She kissed him before he expected it, brief pressure of lips against his that tasted like coffee and risk. When she pulled back, her eyes were bright with unshed tears. I'll stay. The text she sent was short, professional. Handle it. I'm unavailable until Monday morning. Cole watched her hit send with visible effort, like she was fighting instincts carved deep by years of putting work first. They ordered pizza for dinner because none of them wanted the afternoon to end, eating in Cole's small kitchen while Lily and Claire compared schools, and Claire admitted she'd been accepted early to University of Colorado Boulder on a full academic scholarship for pre-med. That's incredible. Cole meant it, impressed by achievement that suggested discipline beyond her years. You must have worked hard. Didn't have much choice. Mom, Vivian, she made sure I understood that education was the one thing nobody could take away. My birth mother died when I was little, and David adopted Vivian when I was 10. When he died, she formally adopted me, made sure I'd have stability. Claire's voice softened when talking about Vivian, affection breaking through teenage guardedness. She's really driven about success, sometimes too driven. Vivian looked uncomfortable with the assessment but didn't argue. I want Claire to have options I didn't have. Security, the ability to support herself regardless of circumstances. You didn't have options? Cole heard his skepticism, couldn't quite hide it. Different kind. I had money but no autonomy. Everything was controlled by people who thought they knew better. She cut herself off, clearly regretting the admission. That's not important. What matters is Claire gets to choose her own path. Lily, bored with college talk, pulled Claire back to the ornaments they'd left drying. The girls disappeared into the garage, leaving Cole and Vivian alone with cooling pizza and questions neither seemed ready to ask. Vivian broke the silence first. I'm not being fully honest about my work, my life. You deserve better than partial truths. So tell me the whole truth. I'm afraid. The admission came out raw. Afraid you'll look at me differently? Afraid this thing between us will break before it starts. Cole reached across the table, took her hand in his. Her fingers were soft, nails professionally manicured, hands that had never swung a hammer or sanded rough edges. But they fit in his anyway, different but compatible. Try me. Before Vivian could answer, Lily's scream shattered the moment. Cole was moving before conscious thought, sprinting to the garage with Vivian close behind. He burst through the door to find Claire on the floor, clutching her hand, blood seeping between fingers. Lily hovering over her with tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. The wood slipped and the saw was on and I didn't mean to. Cole knelt beside Claire, gently pulling her hand away to assess the damage. Deep cut across her palm, bleeding heavily but clean. No torn flesh or visible damage to tendons. He grabbed a clean rag from his workbench, applied pressure. Claire, can you move your fingers? She demonstrated, wincing but managing full range of motion. Yeah, it hurts, but nothing feels wrong. Good. We're going to take you to urgent care, get this looked at properly. Might need stitches. Vivian had gone pale, staring at her daughter's blood like it represented every fear she'd ever harbored about losing control. This is my fault. I should have been watching. I should have... Mom! Claire's voice cut through the spiral. I'm okay. It was an accident. Lily was showing me how to change the blade and my hand slipped. Nobody's fault. But Lily had collapsed into guilty sobs, convinced she'd ruined everything. Cole scooped her up with his free arm, pressed her face against his shoulder. Accidents happen, baby. That's why we're careful, but sometimes careful isn't enough. Claire's going to be fine. The drive to urgent care took 12 minutes that felt longer. Cole at the wheel of his truck with Claire beside him, Vivian and Lily in the back seat. The waiting room was half full with Saturday evening casualties, sports injuries and cooking accidents, the debris of weekend ambition. Claire was taken back quickly, the triage nurse assessing her cut as requiring 5 stitches, but nothing more serious. Vivian went with her, leaving Cole and Lily in hard plastic chairs, surrounded by outdated magazines and fluorescent lighting. Lily had stopped crying but remained pressed against Cole's side, small body tense with residual fear. Is Claire mad at me? No, sweetheart, she told you it was an accident. But what if Vivian is mad? What if she says I can't see Claire anymore because I hurt her? Cole heard the real fear underneath. Not that Vivian would be angry, but that this fragile new connection would break like everything else in Lily's life had broken. He pulled her onto his lap despite her getting too big for it, held her close. Listen to me. Vivian understands accidents happen. She's scared right now because Claire got hurt, and parents hate seeing their kids in pain. But she's not going to blame you. Promise? He couldn't promise. Not really, but Lily needed reassurance more than technical honesty. I promise. They sat in silence until Vivian emerged 40 minutes later, Claire beside her with her hand wrapped in clean white bandages. The relief on Vivian's face when she saw them was immediate and genuine. 5 stitches. They said it should heal cleanly as long as she keeps it dry for a week. Lily scrambled off Cole's lap, approached Claire cautiously. I'm really sorry. Claire knelt down, met Lily's eyes directly. Hey, you didn't do anything wrong. I slipped. You were being a great teacher and I messed up because I wasn't paying attention. Okay? Okay. Lily's voice came out small. You still want to be friends? Definitely still want to be friends. But maybe we stick to painting next time instead of power tools. The drive home felt different, quieter, weighted with awareness that danger lived in ordinary moments, that loss could arrive wearing the costume of Saturday afternoon activities. Cole kept glancing at Vivian in the rearview mirror, watching her watch Claire, maternal fear still written across her features. Back at his house, Lily insisted on making tea for everyone because that's what adults did when people were upset. She'd learned this from Mrs. Patterson, apparently, her third-grade teacher who had strong opinions about comfort beverages. Claire accepted her mug with exaggerated gratitude, praising Lily's tea-making skills until the 8-year-old glowed. Vivian held her cup without drinking, staring into the liquid like it held answers. I need to go. She stood abruptly. Claire should rest and there are things I need to handle. Cole followed her to the door while the girls remained in the kitchen. Are you okay? No, I'm terrified. Watching Claire bleed, knowing she was hurt while I was distracted, it reminded me why I keep people at distance. Because caring means risking, and risk means potential loss, and I've lost enough. So you're running. I'm protecting. Vivian's voice sharpened. There's a difference. Is there? Because from here it looks the same. She flinched like he'd struck her. You don't understand. My life is complicated in ways I haven't explained. Work pressures you can't imagine. Expectations I can barely meet. Adding this, us, it's too much. Then make it less complicated. Quit the job that demands too much. Choose differently. You say that like it's simple, like I can just walk away from responsibilities and commitments. I have a company to run, people depending on me. She stopped, clearly having said more than intended. A company to run. Cole felt understanding click into place. Not just working for a company, running one. You're not project management, are you? You're the boss, the CEO or owner, or whatever title means you're at the top. Vivian's silence was answer enough. That's what you've been hiding. Not just money, power, position. You let me think you were middle management when you're actually running the show. Does it matter? The question came out defensive. Does my job title change anything about what we talked about last night? About grief or loneliness or wanting connection? It matters that you lied. Again, we agreed on honesty, Vivian. You promised. I didn't lie, I just withheld truth, which is the same thing. Cole's frustration boiled over. Months of grief and isolation finding target in this moment. Do you know what I told you last night? That I can barely afford Christmas presents for my daughter. That I drive a truck held together with prayer and stubbornness. That I'm a small-time contractor who'll never build anything that matters beyond helping families have homes. And the whole time, you knew we existed in completely different worlds. You knew and you let me expose myself while hiding behind partial truths. That's not fair. I was scared you'd look at me differently if you knew. Of course I'd look at you differently, because you're different than you pretended. I thought we were equals, Vivian. 2 people trying to survive grief, to build something real. But we're not equals. You're slumming, seeing how the other half lives, and I'm the idiot who believed it could work. Tears ran down Vivian's face now, but Cole was too angry to care. Every wound Rachel's death had opened felt fresh again, vulnerability exposed to someone who'd proven unworthy of the trust he'd offered. I should go. Vivian's voice came out broken. You're right, I'm a liar and a coward, and you deserve someone honest. She left before he could respond, collecting Claire with murmured apologies and hurrying to the waiting Uber. Cole stood in his doorway, watching them go, fury and regret warring in his chest. Lily appeared at his elbow, face worried. Did you and Vivian have a fight? Yeah, baby, we had a fight. Are you going to make up? Cole looked down at his daughter, at the hope in her eyes despite years of learning that hope led to disappointment. He wanted to say yes, wanted to promise that adults could fix their mistakes and make things right. Instead, he told the truth. I don't know. Sunday morning arrived with a particular gray that preceded serious snow. Denver's sky promising the kind of storm that shut down highways and trapped people in whatever choices they'd made before conditions turned dangerous. Cole woke to 17 missed calls, 3 from Garrett asking what the hell happened with his date, 2 from numbers he didn't recognize, and 12 from a Denver area code that his phone identified as belonging to Lancaster Development Group. He ignored them all, focusing instead on Lily's breakfast and the weather forecast warning travelers to stay off Interstate 70 through the mountain passes. A blizzard was forming in the high country, expected to hit Denver by evening, potentially dumping 2 feet before morning. The kind of storm that killed people who made stupid decisions about driving through whiteout conditions. Lily pushed eggs around her plate without eating, still subdued from yesterday's accident and the fight she'd witnessed. Cole wanted to tell her everything would be fine, that adults fix their mistakes and move forward. Instead, he poured more orange juice and let silence fill the spaces where comfort should live. His phone buzzed again, this time a text from Vivian. Please, I need to explain. Can we talk? Cole deleted it without responding. Another text 30 seconds later. You're right, I lied. I'm CEO of Lancaster Development, $180 million company. I should have told you immediately. I'm sorry. He stared at the admission, anger and vindication mixing uncomfortably. She'd finally given him truth, but only after being cornered, exposed. That wasn't honesty, that was damage control. A third text. There's more you need to know. About the company, about why I'm so afraid of failing. Please give me a chance to explain in person. Cole typed back, not today. I need space. Her response came immediately. I understand. But Cole, whatever happens with us, please don't let Lily blame herself for Claire's accident. She was such a good teacher, so proud. Don't let this ruin that for her. The message landed somewhere tender. Vivian's concern for his daughter cutting through his anger. Whatever else she'd hidden, her care for Lily had been genuine. He could give her that much. I won't. Lily knows it was an accident. No response came, and Cole pocketed his phone, turning his attention back to his daughter. They spent Sunday cleaning the workshop, putting away paint supplies and organizing wood scraps, returning the space to its usual ordered state. Lily worked silently, and Cole didn't push conversation, both of them processing yesterday's chaos in their own ways. By afternoon, snow had started, light flurries that would intensify as evening approached. Cole checked weather updates obsessively, watching the storm track with the particular vigilance of someone who'd lost a wife to winter driving. Garrett called at 3. Cole answered this time, knowing his brother wouldn't stop until they talked. So you going to tell me what happened, or do I have to guess? The woman from Friday wasn't my blind date. I sat at the wrong table, talked to her for an hour before the real Autumn showed up. Then I invited wrong table woman and her daughter over yesterday. Her kid got hurt in my workshop, and I found out she's not who she pretended to be. Silence while Garrett processed. That's the most complicated blind date story I've ever heard. She's a CEO, Garrett, runs a $180 million company, Let me believe she was middle management while I told her about struggling to afford Lily's Christmas presents. Made me feel like an idiot. Or maybe she was scared you'd judge her for being successful. Don't defend her. She lied. She withheld information. That's different. How? Explain to me how that's different. Garrett sighed, the sound carrying 4 years of watching his brother shut down, retreat into work and parenting, avoid anything resembling emotional risk. It's different because she told you the important stuff, about her dead husband, about being lonely, about struggling to balance work and being a mom. Those were truths that mattered. The job title, that's just details. Details that completely change the dynamic. We're not equals, Garrett. She's slumming with the working-class contractor, probably getting a thrill from how the other half lives. You don't believe that. Cole didn't, not really, but admitting it meant facing his own fear. That Vivian represented everything he couldn't provide. That loving her meant accepting he'd never be enough. Easier to be angry about lies than confront inadequacy. I need to go. Storm's coming and I want to make sure the job sites are secured. He spent the rest of the afternoon driving between projects, checking that equipment was covered, materials protected, nothing left exposed to weather that could cause thousands in damage. The physical work helped, driving from site to site, giving his hands purpose, while his mind spun uselessly. At the Morrison project, the foundation pour that had made him late Friday night, Cole found Garrett's truck already parked. His brother was tightening tarps over the concrete forms, preparing for temperature drops that could crack fresh foundation. They worked in silence for 20 minutes before Garrett spoke. Dad used to say the best structures came from honest mistakes. You pour foundation, realize it's slightly off level, and you compensate. Build the rest, accounting for that initial flaw. Makes the whole thing stronger because you're not pretending the foundation is perfect. What's your point? My point is Vivian made a mistake. Withheld information out of fear, but the foundation you two built, the conversations about grief, about being parents, about wanting connection, that was real. So you compensate, build the rest accounting for the flaw instead of scrapping everything. Cole secured the last tarp, straightened to find his brother watching him with the particular intensity of someone preparing to say something that might hurt. What? You're using her dishonesty as an excuse to run. Because if you stay, you have to admit you're falling for someone, which means risking loss. And you've been terrified of loss since Rachel died. That's not. It is. You've spent 4 years building walls, telling yourself Lily needed stability when really you needed safety. Vivian threatens that, so you're looking for reasons to push her away before she can leave you. The accuracy hurt worse than if Garrett had actually struck him. Cole wanted to argue, defend himself against accusations that felt like exposure, but the words wouldn't come. Because his brother was right. Fear lived underneath the anger, terror that opening his heart meant giving loss another target. They drove back separately through snow that was intensifying, visibility dropping as afternoon became evening. Cole's phone showed 6 more missed calls from Lancaster Development Group, 2 voicemails he didn't listen to. Whatever crisis Vivian was managing at her company, he couldn't fix it. Couldn't fix her. Could barely fix himself. Home was dark when he arrived, Lily having turned on only her bedroom lamp. Cole found her at her desk again, drawing buildings that would never exist, architectural fantasies that required no foundation or structural integrity. Hey, little architect, hungry? I could make spaghetti. Lily turned, face serious. Are you sad because of Vivian? Cole sat on her bed, gestured for her to join him. She climbed into his lap despite being too old for it, and they sat together watching snow accumulate outside her window. I'm confused. I like Vivian, but she wasn't completely honest with me, and I don't know if I can trust someone who hides important things. Maybe she was scared, like when I don't tell you about bad grades because I'm afraid you'll be disappointed. The comparison landed with uncomfortable accuracy. Have you been getting bad grades? No, but if I did, I'd be scared to tell you. Not because you're mean, but because I want you to be proud of me. Maybe Vivian wanted you to be proud of her for who she is instead of what she does. 8 years old and somehow wiser than adults with decades of accumulated damage. Cole kissed the top of Lily's head, grateful and heartbroken in equal measure. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. You just don't always listen. They made spaghetti together, Lily standing on a stool to stir sauce, while Cole boiled pasta, both of them finding comfort in routine. The storm intensified outside, wind howling around the house's corners, snow piling against windows in drifts that would take hours to shovel come morning. Cole's phone rang at 8:30, not Vivian this time, but a number he didn't recognize. He almost ignored it, then thought about Lily's earlier wisdom about fear and answered. Mr. Brennan, this is Melissa Kerrigan, Garrett's wife. They'd met twice, Thanksgiving dinners where Melissa had tried to draw him into conversation about dating and moving forward. Cole had appreciated the effort while resisting the content. Hey, Melissa, everything okay? No, actually, I need you to listen without interrupting because this is important and time-sensitive. Her tone carried urgency that made Cole's stomach clench. I'm listening. Lily's school called your emergency contact number. That's me, right? There's a field trip that got caught in the storm. They left this morning for a science center visit in Idaho Springs. We're supposed to be back by 2. But the storm came in faster than predicted, and their bus is stuck on Interstate 70 near Georgetown. Mile marker 228. The numbers hit Cole like physical blows. Mile marker 228, Georgetown. The exact stretch of highway where Rachel had lost control on black ice 4 years ago, where her car had spun across lanes and struck the barrier, where she died before paramedics arrived. Lily's on that bus, Cole heard his voice from a distance. Words formed through constriction in his throat. She's safe right now. They have heat. They're with teachers and chaperones. Highway Patrol is working on getting emergency vehicles through, but the storm is severe. It might be hours before they can evacuate everyone. I'm going to get her. Cole, no. The police have Interstate 70 completely blocked. You can't. I'm getting my daughter. He was already moving, grabbing keys and coat while Melissa talked. Text me the exact coordinates. I'll find a way through. He hung up before she could argue, mind racing through options. Interstate 70 was blocked from Denver, but there were back roads, county highways that cut through the mountains, routes the police might not have barricaded. Dangerous in this storm, potentially suicidal, but Lily was trapped at mile marker 228, where her mother had died, and Cole couldn't breathe thinking about his daughter, scared and cold and waiting for rescue. His phone rang again. Vivian. Cole answered without thinking. Not a good time. Cole, I know. Melissa called me. She had my number from when Claire gave it to Lily for emergencies. I'm already on the road heading toward Georgetown. I can reach them from where I am. Where are you? Colorado Springs. I drove down this morning to handle some business before tomorrow's board meeting. But that doesn't matter now. I'm 50 miles south, which means I can take Highway 24 west, cut north through the mountains. The police haven't blocked southern routes yet. I can get to Lily. You're driving the Mercedes in this? No, I brought the Range Rover. Better for snow and mountain roads. Cole, I know it's dangerous, but your daughter is stuck where your wife died and you can't get to her, so I will. Trust me, let me do this. Every instinct screamed to refuse, to maintain control, to not depend on someone who'd already proven untrustworthy. But Lily needed help more than Cole needed pride. Highway 24 west to Woodland Park, then 67 north toward Bailey. It connects to 285, which feeds into 70 west of Georgetown. You'll avoid the Denver closures. Already mapped it. I'll text updates every 15 minutes so you know I'm making progress. Vivian, be careful. Please, I can't lose you both. The admission slipped out, uncensored, raw truth he hadn't meant to reveal. Silence on the other end, Then her voice thick with emotion. "You won't lose either of us. I promise." She hung up. Cole stood in his kitchen holding a phone that couldn't connect him to his daughter, staring at snow that had trapped her in the exact location where nightmares lived. His hands shook, breath coming too fast, panic threatening to drown rational thought. He called Garrett. "Lily's bus is stuck. Mile 228. Vivian's driving from Colorado Springs to get her." "Jesus, okay, what do you need?" "Talk to me. Keep me from losing my mind while I wait." Garrett talked. About nothing important, about job sites and supply orders, and random thoughts about their father. Cole barely heard the words, focused only on the sound of his brother's voice, anchoring him to reality, while Vivian drove through a blizzard toward the place where Cole's world had shattered. Text updates came every 15 minutes like Vivian had promised. Past Woodland Park, roads bad but manageable. Then, on 67 North, visibility poor but still moving. Then, connecting to 285, about 40 minutes out. Each message was lifeline and torture, proof Vivian was making progress, but reminder that she was risking her life for his daughter, for him. Despite everything he'd said, every accusation he'd thrown. At 10:45, her text came through. "Can see emergency lights, found the bus, going to Lily now." Cole waited, phone gripped so tightly his knuckles went white. Garrett had stopped talking, both brothers silent as minutes stretched like hours. Then, "I have her. She's safe. Cold and scared but unharmed. Will shelter at Georgetown Fire Station until roads clear." Relief hit so hard Cole's knees buckled. He sat on his kitchen floor, phone pressed to his forehead, and let himself shake with reaction he'd been suppressing. Garrett's voice came through speaker. "She's okay, Cole. Vivian got her." I know. You need to talk to Vivian. Really talk. Not about her job or money or any of that surface stuff. About what matters." "I know that too." He stayed on the floor for 10 minutes, processing that his daughter was safe, and the woman he'd pushed away had driven through dangerous conditions to ensure it. The woman who'd lied about her job title, but told truth about everything that actually mattered: fear and loneliness and desperate desire for connection. His phone rang. Vivian again. "Cole? Lily wants to talk to you." Then his daughter's voice, small and tired. "Dad, I was so scared. The bus got stuck and it was snowing, and I thought about Mom and how she died here and—" "I know, baby, but you're safe now. Vivian came to get you. She drove through the storm. She said you couldn't come because the roads were blocked from Denver, but she was already south so she could reach me. She promised she wouldn't let me be scared alone." Lily's voice carried wonder and exhaustion, the particular combination of a child who'd faced fear and found rescue. Cole swallowed against tightness in his throat. "Put Vivian back on." Static, shuffling, then, "I'm here. Thank you for going, for keeping her safe, for—" His voice broke. "Thank you for doing what I couldn't. She's going to be fine, Cole. We're warm and dry at the fire station. They're saying roads might open by morning, but we'll stay here tonight to be safe. I'm coming to get you." "You can't. Interstate 70 is still completely blocked." "I'll find a way. I need to see her." "Need to see you." Vivian's silence carried weight. Then, "Okay, but be careful. Don't make me rescue two Brennans in one night." The attempt at humor broke through Cole's terror, replaced it with something warmer. "I'll be careful. And Vivian, everything I said yesterday, I was scared and angry and I took it out on you. But you're the bravest person I know. Or the stupidest. Driving 60 miles through a blizzard probably qualifies as insane." Brave and insane aren't mutually exclusive. He could hear her smile through the phone. "Get here safe. We'll be waiting." Cole called Garrett back, outlined his plan. His brother argued, said it was too dangerous, then gave up and agreed to follow in his own truck as backup. They left 20 minutes later, taking the same southern route Vivian had pioneered, Highway 24 West, through conditions that had worsened since she'd passed through. The drive took 3 hours that felt like 30, visibility dropping to almost nothing multiple times, both trucks creeping forward through snow that wanted to trap them. But Cole kept moving, focused on reaching Lily, on seeing with his own eyes that his daughter was safe. Georgetown Fire Station appeared through falling snow at 1:30 in the morning, lights blazing against the storm. Cole parked and ran inside, barely registering Garrett behind him. The main room held 20 children wrapped in emergency blankets, teachers distributing hot chocolate, parents who'd made similar, desperate journeys reuniting with their kids. And there, in the corner, Lily sat beside Vivian, both of them wrapped in a single blanket, heads together over a book someone had provided. Lily saw him first, her face transforming. "Dad!" She launched herself across the room into his arms, and Cole caught her, held her with the particular tightness of someone who'd thought he might lose everything. Over Lily's shoulder, he watched Vivian stand, exhaustion and relief mixing on her face. When Lily finally released him, Cole crossed to Vivian, pulled her into an embrace that felt like coming home. She melted against him, and they stood there not speaking, just breathing together, alive and whole. "I'm sorry," Cole spoke into her hair, "for everything I said, for not trusting you, for being too scared to see what you were offering. I'm sorry too, for hiding, for letting fear control my honesty, for almost losing this because I couldn't be brave." They pulled apart just enough to see each other's faces. Vivian's eyes were red-rimmed with exhaustion, hair escaping from its ponytail, expensive clothes rumpled from hours of driving and worry. She'd never looked more beautiful. "Tell me everything, no more partial truths. I want to know who you really are." Vivian nodded. "Not here, but soon. Everything, I promise, full honesty." They stayed at the fire station until dawn, when Highway Patrol finally declared Interstate 70 passable. Cole drove home with Lily sleeping in his passenger seat, Garrett following, and Vivian in her Range Rover behind them both. The convoy moved slowly through plowed roads, morning light revealing the storm's damage, drifts piled 6 feet high, abandoned vehicles being extracted by tow trucks, evidence of the night's chaos. At his house, Vivian helped carry exhausted Lily inside, getting her settled in bed without waking her fully. They stood in the hallway afterward, Cole aware this was the moment for promised truth. "Coffee first." Vivian's voice was hoarse from exhaustion. "Then I'll tell you everything." In his kitchen, Cole made coffee while Vivian shed her jacket, revealing the same exhaustion he felt in his bones. They sat across from each other at the small table, and Vivian began. "Lancaster Development Group. I'm the CEO and majority owner, 51%. My father started the company 40 years ago, built it from nothing into one of Denver's largest commercial real estate firms. When he died 8 years ago, he left it to me, but with strings, board members who thought I was too young, too female, too emotional to handle the responsibility. I've spent those 8 years proving them wrong." She paused, hands wrapped around her coffee mug. "David was my father's protege before becoming my husband. He understood the business, supported my leadership. When he died, the board saw vulnerability. They've been trying to push me out ever since, using every crisis as evidence I'm not stable enough to lead." Cole listened without interrupting, pieces clicking into place. Her fear of being seen as weak, her obsession with control, the way work consumed everything. "Right now, I'm facing a $12 million lawsuit, investors claiming I misrepresented timeline on a development project. The case is weak, normal construction delays that any experienced investor should understand. But if I lose, the board will use it to force me out. The hearing is December 27th. Everything I've worked for, everything my father built, rides on winning. That's why your phone kept ringing Saturday, why you almost left. The board wanted an emergency meeting Christmas Eve, wanted to discuss leadership contingencies, which is code for planning my replacement. I told them no, that I'd handle it Monday. First time in 8 years I put personal before professional. Cole reached across the table, took her hand. You should have told me this at the restaurant. Or Saturday, I would have understood. Would you? Or would you have seen CEO Lancaster instead of Vivian? That's what everyone does. They see the title and the money, and they stop seeing me. I see you now, and I'm not running. Vivian's eyes filled with tears she didn't try to hide. I drove through that storm because Lily needed me, but also because I needed to prove to you, to myself, that I could choose right when it mattered, that I wasn't the person who always picked work over people. You proved it. You're here. You're real. And whatever happens with your lawsuit or your board, we'll figure it out together. The promise felt bigger than he was ready for. Commitment to someone whose world he barely understood. But watching Vivian drive through a blizzard had clarified what mattered. Not job titles or bank accounts, but who showed up when everything was breaking. They talked until morning light filled the kitchen, Vivian explaining the lawsuit's details, Cole offering perspective from the construction side. She'd been right about the timeline issues. Delays happened, good faith estimates changed. Any jury with sense would see that. I'll win. The evidence is clear. Vivian's voice carried determination. And then I'm going to restructure my life. Hire a COO to handle day-to-day operations. Set boundaries the board will have to respect. Because I refuse to choose between the company and this, us, again. What if you lose? Then I rebuild, clear the rubble, and start over with better foundation. She smiled. A wise contractor once told me that's how you handle structural failure. Cole felt something in his chest unlock. 4 years of grief beginning to shift into possibility. That contractor sounds pretty smart. He is, which is why I'm hoping he'll give me another chance. Already gave you one. This is called building on the foundation we started, accounting for the flaws, making it stronger. Vivian left at 9, needing sleep before Monday's board meeting where she'd fight for her company. At the door, they kissed, deep and honest. 4 days of miscommunication dissolving into understanding that felt inevitable. I'll call you Monday night, after I've dealt with the board and prepared for Wednesday's hearing. And on the 27th, after you win, we'll celebrate properly. You, me, Lily, and Claire, like a real family. Her smile transformed her face. Like a real family. I loved the sound of that. After she left, Cole checked on Lily, found her awake and watching him from her bed. Is Vivian your girlfriend now? Maybe. Would that be okay? Lily considered seriously. She drove through a blizzard to save me. That's pretty brave. Yeah, that's okay. Cole spent Monday fielding calls from worried parents and assuring everyone Lily was fine. That evening, Vivian texted, "Board meeting went well. They're backing off for now. Hearing is still Wednesday, but I'm ready. Thank you for believing in me." He typed back, "You didn't need me to believe. You already knew your strength. I just got to witness it." Wednesday morning, Cole waited by his phone. At 2 p.m., Vivian called. "We won." Judge dismissed the case entirely, said the evidence showed normal business practices, no fraud. It's over. Relief and joy mixed in her voice, and Cole could picture her standing in the courthouse, victorious and vindicated. "Congratulations. I knew you would. Dinner tonight, all 4 of us? I want to celebrate with the people who matter." They met at Evergreen Steakhouse, the restaurant where everything had started with a wrong table and mistaken identity. The host led them to the same corner booth, and Lily laughed. "This is where Dad sat at the wrong table. That's so cool that we're eating here." Claire smiled at her younger counterpart. Wrong table, right family. Cole watched Vivian across the booth, her hand finding his under the table, and understood that sometimes the best foundations came from honest mistakes. You compensated for the flaws, built accounting for imperfection, and ended up with something stronger than if everything had been perfect from the start. "To wrong tables," Vivian raised her water glass. "And right people," Cole finished. Their daughters echoed the toast, and through the restaurant window, Denver sparkled under Christmas lights. the blizzard's damage already fading into memory, while what they'd built together, messy and imperfect and absolutely real, promised to last well beyond the season.